I think one of the biggest highlights that to me was essentially the common theme about a human-centric you know future. Right? We talk about AI, we talk about technology. A lot of times, it revolves around the hardware and the software from the computer's perspective. But I think one of the areas, like for example, panel has mentioned, and I think all three of us agree with, is the need to have that human-centric care and that human-centric model to make sure that we keep in mind the people whom we serve, the population whom we serve, and what the ecosystem is for. The second one, I think, is about the possibilities and about the vastness of AI in healthcare, because it is not just a single entity. AI encompasses a whole range of solutions, services, challenges, and problems as well. So being able to, or thinking about all the full spectrum, from implementation, adoption, development, scaling, getting the people, the right resources involved. I think that's something that was really highlighted during the talk itself. It's been great. It's actually my third year coming back, and every year I think it's a new experience for me. Seeing the new technologies, and engaging with the vendors, listening for the speakers, the keynotes, and the panels. And I think every year the theme sort of changes a little bit. It is not just a rehash of the previous conference, but it's essentially bringing new life and new light into what's out there in the technology world, not just in healthcare, but across industries as well. And I think each time I come, I learn a lot more, not just about the tech itself, but also interacting with the other industries and how they are looking at technology transformation. I think in Singapore, one of the perhaps challenges that we face is how do we move from trials and proof of concepts into implementation and scale. Right? Because I think one of the issues that we have is the small population, right, and the limited resources when it comes to patient data. So we are very, very quick, and it's easy for us to implement small-scale studies, trials, POCs. But when we want to implement it into actual clinical practice and actual clinical care, specifically in a healthcare region or healthcare area, sometimes we find that it may be a bit difficult because either we don't have the patient base to implement this at scale or to implement it at a cost-effective level, or we just don't have the need to implement some of these things as a day-to-day practice. So I think being able to translate some of the projects that we do from just trials and POCs into actual clinical practice adoption, looking at a small population, looking at the ecosystem, the disease burden here within Singapore, and how that affects the adoption. I think that's one of the key areas for Singapore. Well, I would say it's innovation, future, and possibilities.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.